plug in there for Gravitate while you're at it.
Yeah.
You got 30 seconds. Go.
Gravitate is the platform for membership groups and nonprofit associations that want to keep the connection between your virtual meetings so that your members get more out of your membership and your associations can get closer to your goals faster. How'd I do?
You did wonderful, and 1 Million Cups organizing team is powered by Gravitate. Melinda, the floor is yours.
Perfect. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to 1 Million Cups. Please make sure you log into our app. We get credit for everybody that comes to the meetings, and we get to get really nice trinkets and things to give to our guests who or members who present. And if you don't have the app, you can download it at the App Store or on Google Play Store. Next slide, please. 1 Million Cups, we have 160 chapters nationally, and everybody meets at the same time, but in their own time zone. And we're a mastermind group, and we're here not to sharpshoot. Whatever happens in the room stays in the room, and it's a very safe, supportive group. Next slide, please. This slide tells you how to share the network after the event. Also, if you've got Facebook Live, or if you have us on Facebook, why don't you start Facebook Live to all of your friends that you can send it to. Our URL for Facebook and for LinkedIn is IMC Fairfax. Next slide, please. Our sponsors today are Office Evolution and John Yu. John, are you in the audience?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Melinda. Good morning, everyone. It's great to see all the new faces and old faces as well. I'm John Yu with Office Evolution. We are a co-working space provider located right here in Tyson's Corner. We provide fully furnished office space as well as a number of virtual office solutions such as business address and meeting room space for small businesses. We're locally owned business, and that makes us to be flexible in working with our clients to provide a custom solution to meet their needs. And because we're located local, we're a locally owned business, we have a strong interest in seeing small businesses grow and flourish. And that's why we love partnering with 1 Million Cups and other business organizations to help facilitate the growth of our business community. So if you'd like to learn more about Office Evolution and how we help small businesses, owners like yourself, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Our next sponsor is Whitecap Cleaning and John Gaffigan.
Good morning, everybody. Whitecap Cleaning is all about deep disinfecting. I bring a small sample size of a bottle here for hospital grade, EPA approved, endless registered cleaning. This does not obviate or displace your existing methods of providing deep disinfection with the filter. So for people that want to care of strong science-based support, we'd love to chat with you, and I'd welcome connection. I'll send out my LinkedIn connection to everybody when I'm speaking here. Happy to chat with you. Tony Barnett is helping a little bit in the background with me on this as well. So if you folks know Tony, feel free to reach out to him as well. Pleasure to see everybody.
Thank you, John. You were a little bit hard to hear. Why don't you put a little bit into the chat box so everybody can see more about you?
Okay.
Next slide, please. This week, we have a really special presentation. We've invited 4 of our presenters back to talk about what's happened since they've presented. We've got Proven Media Solutions, Education Connections Tutoring, HyperJet Fusion, Corporation, and Land Intelligence. Next slide, please. Want to go over the house rules just so that we have no confusion. First of all, everybody mute yourself. If you are going to be, if you've asked a question, you will know that you're coming up as a speaker because that will be announced by Justin Wilson, who is our moderator. What we want to do is keep this very much where the speaker gets 5 minutes and there are 5 minutes worth of questions and answers. Use the hand icon in the chat selection to announce to the moderator that you have a question, or you may type the question in. If the moderator says your name, please unmute yourself at that point, and then please put your microphone back on mute after you are done. Next slide, please. I am really happy to present Proven Media Solutions and Dustin Figgins.
Morning, everyone. Thanks for having me back. Can everyone hear me well?
Yes.
So last time we spoke to 1 Million Cups was in person in Tyson's, and I think it was October of last year. Since then, we've developed a few different tactics and strategies that have allowed us to significantly grow our revenue and bring new staff on board. Specifically, we started late last year by improving how we communicated with our target market, both the in-person relationship building, as well as through our proposals. And that allowed us to secure some large clients and moderate sized clients that will have us, we project, quadrupling our revenue compared to last year. Among other things, that has allowed us to invest in new staff, which has allowed us to continue to grow how we produce our writing content and how we put our clients in the press, which is really, those are the two core services that we provide. Putting our clients in the press and developing the content that gets them there. And so looking to 2021, we're continuing to refine our target market. We are continuing to refine our online presence, and we're changing our blog from 250 to 500 words, like many other blogs are, to being somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 words per piece, focused on large important business concepts, principles, and strategies, and highlighting national and small businesses that drive those points home for our reading audience. That's what we've been up to. It's been a lot of fun, and we've been very fortunate during the pandemic because a significant part of our client base is in politics. So for good and ill, a lot of political groups are using the pandemic, of course, to push their policy agenda. And we've been involved with a couple of organizations that are doing that through the written word.
Okay, are you ready for questions?
I am.
All right, and just make sure, guys, if you don't get to ask Justin a question, or Dustin a question, sorry about that, that you put your contact in the chat so that if he doesn't get to your question, he can still contact and reach out to you and answer that for you. And the first question we have is Rosemarie.
Hey, good morning, Dustin. Good to see you again. Glad to hear things are going well. Can you please remind us of what your challenge question was?
A year ago?
Well, what you were trying to do when you came to see us to begin with.
Oof, I mean, that was a year and a half ago. I think it was, I don't even remember what it was, frankly.
Okay.
To be honest with you. We've faced and overcome a number of challenges since then.
Okay. The reason I asked was part of why I like to hear from returning presenters is to see how the feedback we provided helped you to move your business forward. I know from our business at Gravitate, it was very helpful. And I think you guys have done a great job. What is it? Luck favors the prepared. So you might be lucky that a lot of your clients are politically charged, but you were prepared for that luck. So I kind of wanted to see if we could think back to what your challenge question was and how we helped you so that we know how we can help you going forward and other presenters. If it's been a year and a half, then it might just be, hey, we're doing this. Who else do we reach out to?
I will say, so I've gotten to know several people from the group. We stayed in touch afterwards, especially John and I, for good and ill, he has chosen to stay in touch with me fairly closely. And what I think the biggest lessons I learned, because our business was about a year old, a little less than a year old when we came to you all originally. There were a lot of tactical suggestions which were helpful, but the things that were most helpful were the strategic suggestions, which allowed us to consider how we were approaching our clients and how we could think about not only what we provide, but how we provide it, how we explain how we provide it. Because we are a branding oriented company, but let's say the cobbler whose kids have no shoes, it's not always easy to see yourself. So I would say that the most helpful suggestions were those that related to the big picture strategy.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. And great to hear that you guys are doing so well. Thanks for updating us.
I did such an awesome. Oh, yay. We have a question.
Yeah, so Dustin, I have a quick question for you. And I know that you and I met after your presentation from when you presented back in last year. And one of the things that you were doing was you were going to be doing specialized profiles and custom articles for people where they'd give you an idea and you'd go ahead and write an article that they could then publish under their own heading. Has that progressed at all, or is it shifted to now, the commercial side with the political writing?
That's a good question. So we were doing two things at the time. The first was actually, like Tony, when I interviewed you about waiters and the sales process, was our Minding Your Business column, which we intended to syndicate both as a marketing and revenue generation tactic. It didn't work out for us, unfortunately. So we've moved more into the traditional public relations, op-eds, press releases, and blog posts. And that has actually proven to be a significant driver of revenue and reputation for us because of the quality of our writing, but also that we meet deadlines and that a lot of small business owners who want to grow don't necessarily understand the impact of thought leadership. So there's been two recent studies that have allowed us to continue to prove the sales and revenue-based ROI of what we do. So to your question, Tony, it's actually proven to be a significant source of our revenue, about 50%.
It looks like Melinda has a question as well. No?
I do.
Oh, okay.
My quick question is, who is your target audience? Unfortunately, I didn't see your presentation when you gave it a year ago. And how are you getting new clients? Where are you reaching them so that businesses find out about you?
Sure. So our target markets are primarily large political nonprofits and advocacy groups, so mid-sized to large. Second, the small to medium-sized businesses in Tyson's Corner that are specifically geared toward doubling or tripling revenue, and they have the vision, the budget to invest in branding and marketing. And then our third is people who are the leaders of organizations, nonprofits, for-profits, etc., who want to have an individual brand separate from the organization. So literally thought leadership separate from anything associated with their company or nonprofit. And then one of our significant drivers of clients has actually been our referral network. We've spent over 2 years building relationships with larger public relations firms that have been around for 10 or more years. And so what we have developed is relationships with them. So when clients that are to them small, to us very profitable, come to them, they refer them directly to us. So that has driven probably a third of our revenue this year. And we are continuing to build those relationships in the non-PR world in Tyson's Corner.
Have you done campaigns to reach new clients, and where are you putting these campaigns? I was thinking like the Board of Trade or some of the office buildings in Tyson's.
We have not done traditional campaigns, in part because public relations, branding, getting in the press, are the hard things to explain in a traditional format. So we rely heavily on getting published at third-party outlets such as the Baltimore Sun, trade publications in the industry and the PR world, Inside Nova. By getting published at those entities, we expand our thought leadership, we expand our branding, and we also use that as collateral on our website, social media, and e-newsletter. So we don't do the traditional advertising or marketing that you referenced.
You've got 36 seconds left.
If you want to answer this question really quick from Manny. Manny, if you want to go ahead and ask quickly, go ahead.
Sure, thank you. So I came in late, I apologize. So you mentioned that your prospects don't always understand the value of what you do, so in other words, ROI. So how do you convey that so that so that you're successful, that the prospect, understands and what you do and wants to retain your service?
I feel like I'm in a political debate. I have 17 seconds to answer that. Thanks, Tony. So the short version is there's 2 new studies showing that 19% of readers of an article will likely visit your website, and the other study shows that 44% of the consumer audience will be positively influenced by earned media, which is getting in the press. So between the sales funnel ROI, which I just mentioned, the thought leadership ROI of, for example, one of our clients, we got them published in a significant defense industry publication. Several retired generals contacted that person afterwards. So then there's the thought leadership ROI. And then there's the general ROI of, if you run a construction company, you have to fill up your truck in the morning. If you don't, you can't get to the job site. What's the ROI of that? It's unknown. Just like it's unknown as to how valuable your website is. But without it, your business can't run. So in our case, we showcase how getting in the press provides not the marketing by our product, but the PR. Here's who we are, what we care about, and how we can be of value to.
Thank you. Yeah, that was good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next slide, please. I want to welcome Education Connections Tutoring and Ann Dolan. And Ann, if you want to tell us what your question was, that would be great.
Sure. It was, what are novel ways that I can grow my business? And people had some great ideas for me. At the time, I was especially worried about part of our business, which is test prep, SAT and ACT college entrance exams, mainly because so many colleges are going test optional. But it turns out that that issue of test optional actually accelerated our business, and kids with scores that apply to test optional schools and they have a score, we're tending to stand out more. So in the competitive landscape, we did not see a downturn. We did because of COVID. So I'll kind of give an overview of what my company does. I've had the business 22 years. I was a former Fairfax County teacher. And on the side, I would drive to kids' homes and tutor them. And I realized that was my calling in life, helping kids one-to-one. So I quit my teaching job and I started Educational Connections in '98 as its sole employee. Now I employ about 125 people, mostly part-time tutors. And so my company does 3 things. About 40% of our business is helping kids with skills we call executive functioning skills, organization, time management, and study habits. Part of our business is subject tutoring, often things that are difficult for kids like math and science. And then about 25% is test prep, SAT and ACT. In March, when all of this happened, because the model is traveling to kids' homes and working with kids one-to-one, it completely disrupted the business. And it was really awful, to be honest. I wasn't sure we were going to make it. Our clients kind of froze. And because education was so sporadic, because grades were not an issue and kids didn't have to do the work, our clients said, we want this, but we're just not sure right now. So we saw a big downturn in March and April. In May, it started to come back because parents realized the school system wasn't going to get any better. And virtual learning was there for the end of the year. So we saw a big uptick in May and June. In July, we broke records that, our revenue was higher than we saw in prior years. August was a phenomenal month for us. I ended up having to hire somebody else to answer incoming inquiries from clients. I moved my hiring manager from part-time to full-time. And so what I found is that parents do want the support for their kids. And although kids are learning virtually, the issue is actually not in the model. It's not in virtual learning. It's the depersonalization of it. And so when you have a teacher in a Zoom room of 30 kids, that's the problem. And so even though now we see kids virtually, because it is so personal and they're developing relationships, we've seen, we look at, statistics on how kids are doing, they're doing just as well virtually, one-to-one. And in many cases, we find that kids are actually more focused online than they were sitting next to them. So we've seen that the delivery model is solid. It's really the personalization that is important. Personally, I used to travel to schools and do lots of school presentations, but now I do everything over Zoom. And what I'm working on now is kind of rebranding myself as like the virtual learning expert for companies that hire me to help their employees be more efficient when their kids are learning at home, and also for schools. So, so that's where I am now.
Hey, Ann, Sean Pastor here. I have a unique perspective. You might not remember me, but you actually helped my son in 2015.
Oh, hi, Sean.
So you helped kind of navigate us into the world of private schooling. So my wife and I thank you for that. He ended up going to Georgetown Prep. He's now at Boston College in his first year. So it's nice to kind of see the development and growth of the business over the years as well. So I just wanted to give you a quick shout out. You were fabulous, and it's great seeing you.
Thank you so much. And I went to Boston College too, so go Eagles.
There you go. It's funny because Nikki and I both went to Boston University, so it's creating a little bit of an angst in the family. I think Ryan just did that so he could say, you get to pay for your competitor. Enjoy.
Next, we have Melinda with a question, and then Manny, and then Deb.
Quick question. How can we help you? It seems like you've done really well recently. Are there any things that you're stuck in that you're looking for some help with?
Sure. The things that I think about a lot are, what is this going to be like for the future? How can we best support kids? Because it could be, honestly, we just got lucky. We're at the right place at the right time when parents needed us most. And schools really dropped the ball in the spring. Now it seems like they've picked up the ball. And in talking to lots of parents, for example, Falls Church went back 2 weeks ago, but Fairfax County just went back yesterday. It's 1,000,000 times better than it was in the spring. They really got their act together. Kids are not having technical issues as much. Teachers have learned how to personalize to some degree the experience. But I do think about our next steps and, what is the value that we can bring to families? When my tutors, although we do some in-home tutoring, they are really reticent about going back to kids' homes. So in order to get a tutor now, there's a 6-hour minimum for somebody to come to your house. So we're working a lot with families that have multiple kids where we can go in 3 hours at a time, work with all their kids and basically oversee their schooling. So working parents don't have to worry about it. But, I'm not really sure of what the future will hold and how we can best help parents and kids.
All right, Manny, if you'd like to read off your question here for us.
Yeah, so your slide says throughout DC and Northern Virginia, do you service Maryland?
We used to have an office in Bethesda. I closed it down maybe like 7 years ago, just because we couldn't really run everything out of Northern Virginia. And so it just kind of diminished over time. But now that things are online, we can absolutely serve Maryland. And we've seen an uptick. But that's actually a really good thing to think about, is how can maybe we optimize our website to include Maryland again? Because right now it makes it look like it's just Northern Virginia.
Yeah, because I know that, so I live in Montgomery County and my daughter goes to school. She's with her mom a little bit more in Howard County. And I know a lot of kids over there are, virtually are struggling with just time management because the way they're running their distance learning is completely different than regular school. I mean, it's just, I'm not going to go into it here. That'll be an offline discussion, but they're having a lot of problem with organizational management, time management, how to prioritize, which is time management, of course, but how to use their time. So.
Okay, I love that idea. Thank you. I just jotted that down. That's great.
Now's the time to get in before they figure it all out, because kids are all talking, parents are heavily involved, trying to figure it all out. And, if you got, I'd be glad to brief you. I mean, just.
Okay. Thank you.
That information in there and, we can talk.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That's super helpful.
All right, now Deb has a question, and then Tony, and then I have a question for you. So go ahead, Deb.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Anne. You may remember cross paths last December at H3.
I remember, Deb. How are you?
So congratulations on your business doing so well. My question or comment is, clearly you have mastered the technical side of things, but as the parent of a senior who this morning said, Mom, do you think we can make the power go out because I don't want to go to school? How do you handle, and he's going to do it. He's a good kid, all that kind of stuff. But my point is that there's going to be a huge, I think, attitude issue, not just a technical issue of how am I doing in calculus or biology, but keeping kids engaged in school in general. So do you think you'll have any offerings in that area?
That's a huge issue. In fact, I have a webinar coming up with a friend of mine who's a psychologist. Because it's deeper than learning. You're right, Deb.
Right.
And we actually have something coming up in 2 weeks called Zoomed Out. Already zoomed out, like you're already just done. Like you haven't even started and you're already, and it's super common. We see that a lot. Kids don't want to go on video. They don't want audio. They've already disengaged. And so it's an issue that we're seeing. I'm not sure of the exact answer, but what we found is that kids need a way to personalize it. Like I said, the reason they're disengaged is it just feels like they're a number. Mm-hmm. So connecting offline, connecting with their friends to form study groups, eating lunch together, whatever they can do to make connections with their peers, mm-hmm. and then also advocate for themselves, private chat their teacher, raise their hand. It's that they need connections. And I think that's partially why they're feeling isolated.
Yeah, I think it's only going to get worse too. So as time goes on. Well, good luck to you. Thanks very much.
Thank you. And if it does help parents, I just finished an ebook all on virtual learning, and you can get it by texting 55444 and just type in the word virtual, and it will be delivered to your inbox. It's about 14 pages of virtual learning tips.
And why don't you put that in? We've run out of time, so we need to move on.
Okay, thanks. I'll put it in the chat.
And those who had questions, I meant to say this earlier, on the title slide of each person, you will see their email address so you can get in touch with them. Next slide, please. Our next presenter is HyperJet Fusion and Chris Farnanetta. Am I saying that right, Chris?
Close enough, Farnanetta.
Why don't you tell us what our question was, and then just bring us up to speed on how we can help you.
All right, so I think it just really was help find investor leads, if anyone knew of investor leads. That was the question. So should I just talk about what we do, where we are? And
that would be great.
Okay, so yeah, we HyperJet Fusion Corporation, we make plasma guns for clean fusion energy research and development. It's basically putting the sun in a reactor, and we basically, if we're successful, be clean, limitless energy, clean, safe, limitless energy for the whole world. When I talked to you in April, we had just come out of extracting our former CEO from the company that had mismanaged the company. We were completely out of money, running on fumes. My salary was deferred. Since then, we've won about $5.1 million in grants from ARPA-E to develop a next generation plasma gun. Our lab is in Chantilly, Virginia, and we're open. We have a 9,000 square foot facility, and there's just 7 of us, so we're able to do social distancing and work and build the next generation guns safely. So that's what we're working on right now. Because we just have government grants, we have about $200,000 in debt that we're still carrying in the company. So it's kind of funny, we're kind of on we have money for, let's say, like the next 2 years or so, but we're like on a starvation diet. And so I've been actively trying to seek out investors, and the next, sorry, Mary Smith, can you mute, please? And so the next step, so I've been able to, fortunately with the pandemic, because everything is on Zoom, I've been able to very easily pitch investors on in Silicon Valley and pretty much in Europe. And so I have a lot of good investor leads. The problem is I'm not able to close because our former CEO has basically control over the stock through the stockholders agreement. And so the next thing now we're dealing with is, paying lawyers to try and extract ourselves out of that situation and structure a new company that will allow shareholders to come in and make a return on their investment effectively. And so that's pretty much where we are. I welcome any questions. Hello.
Are you stuck on anything right now that we can help you with? I mean, obviously you're waiting to get the former CEO.
Well, yeah, we've got to, so what we need to do is form a new company that has a new stockholders agreement. It's really interesting. Like we basically control the management of the company, but the former CEO controls how the stock can be bought and sold, and he can actually force the sale of the company. So it's a complete mess. And yeah, so
I have a question.
If you provide moral support, if you can just, be sympathetic to my situation. I mean, it's funny. It's like, every several weeks we're writing a $5,000 retainer to the attorneys. So just burning money. But I have the philosophy that, and it's been my experience, that anything worth doing is not easy. So we continue to trundle along.
Question.
Yeah, Chris, I have just a quick one in that, and I'm sorry to bypass Justin, but I was waving my hand. Quick question. Have you approached any of and I remember during the discussion you were talking about competitors and other energy, companies. Have you had any discussions with any of them about investing with you, or, God forbid, purchasing the technology and keeping you on as moving along and, continue with the flow of developing the technology?
So what is so amazing, and it became particularly acute with the pandemic, is the world is undergoing a massive energy transformation, and oil companies now realize that if they don't change how they produce energy, they're going to go out of business. And so I'm talking to major oil companies. The problem is that I can't take their money because I need to structure a new company in a way that our former investor won't sue us, right? And so, I mean, that's pretty much what we're working on right now. But yeah, it's so funny. I've been in the fusion energy research and development business since 2008. And I would go out and talk to a VC, or, you know, you try to talk to an oil company and they would just laugh at us. Now, you know, there's literally people knocking down the door to get in. And because it's clear with climate change that we need to change the way we produce energy on this planet. And we need to understand the true cost of energy. You know, if coal, for example, may be cheap, but you're not paying the true cost of that energy because it's a huge pollutant. You end up with coal ash that's riddled with heavy metals that pollutes the groundwater. And, you know, when you're burning it, it kills people, it gives them heart attacks, you know, and so it's so funny, we don't pay the true cost of energy. And now we're starting to realize what the true cost of energy is.
And next we have John and then Ken with a question. So John, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just interested in getting to know if maybe you can expound a little bit more on the rail guns and the technology and the target market. Yep.
Well, the target market is the whole world. It's the world's energy production, mainly in around large cities and large towns. So we're talking megawatt to gigawatt class energy production. How to just in an overview, or very simply how it works, the plasma guns basically accelerate plasma to very high velocities, which we would then use to compress a fuel target and drive a fusion reaction. So in an instant, we would get a miniature gun that would release neutrons, and we convert those neutrons into heat, and we take that heat, boil water, make steam. We take that steam and run a turbine, which turns a generator and generates electricity.
Thank you. Okay. Yes.
All right, Ken, you had a question?
My question is essentially a follow-on. Give us some insights into your technical challenge. I'm just interested in where you're developing the technology in your business.
Where we are?
You know, where's the leading edge of innovation in what you're trying to accomplish?
Well, we're trying to develop clean, safe base load power. Base load power means that it's energy, it's maximum power 24/7. So wind and solar are not base load power because obviously the sun doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't always blow. So for utility scale wind and solar, you actually need energy storage, and we don't require energy storage. So we're a much simpler, leaner approach to energy production. The reactor would basically, one reactor would fit inside of a 10,000 square foot building. You could operate it in basically the footprint of an average strip mall. Where we are, so we need to develop our new reactor concept is a hypervelocity plasma armature railgun that's about 90 feet long, and it would accelerate a thimble-sized metal capsule that would contain deuterium and tritium fuel, and it would accelerate that capsule up to about 10 kilometers a second. Now, to put that into perspective, 11 kilometers a second is Earth escape velocity, where a projectile, if you fired it at 11 kilometers a second, it would leave the Earth and go into orbit around the sun. So it's a very, very high speed. And so again, with that little fuel capsule, we get it up to 10 kilometers a second, and we fire it into a very strong magnetic field that's generated by a coil about the size of a car tire. And what happens is when the projectile hits the magnetic field, it becomes rapidly compressed and the fuel inside ignites. It's just like, smashed like that. And it causes ignition of the fuel. And then in an instant, you get a miniature star inside of the chamber that releases neutrons. We capture those neutrons in a liquid blanket, and we pump that liquid into a heat exchanger, boil water with it, make steam, and run a turbine, generate electricity from it. So it takes us, to run the reactor, it takes hundreds of kilowatts, and then the output is tens of megawatts of power.
So how come we're not seeing it in production yet?
Because we just have a concept right now. I'm trying to raise money to develop the first prototype to then build it and perfect it. And actually right now, so I'm trying to raise $500,000 to do advanced plasma physics computer modeling of the reactor performance, of the gun performance, of the fuel capsule structure. We need to model these things to better understand it. And we have a good team. I mean, we have a world-renowned team of plasma physicists that would work for us to do the modeling. And that's where I know, I have oil companies interested. I have angel investors interested. I'm just like, I'm just fighting legal battles right now.
Thank you.
Quick question, Chris, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, this mic I'm working with, hopefully I'll hold on close to you. You talked earlier about working with coal ash. Are you trying to extract any valuable metals like vanadium out of that coal ash, or things that have a circle to circle type lifespan where you can get new input and new output?
We're not extracting. Actually, the materials that we plan to use to build this technology, there's nothing advanced really about it. And so we're going to try the easy materials first, and then if we have problems with the cheap and easy materials, then we can go to more advanced materials. And we actually have a special process to develop our own specialized alloys.
Yeah, and some follow-up here. You're looking for $500,000, and you got some ARPA-E money between the 5.1 million. Is that enough money? I don't want to get off of that use of funds, but it seems to me that's a pretty big kitty of money to work from to get your minimal viable product.
Yeah, so we actually, I didn't mention, we actually have two reactor concepts. So we have a different reactor concept that we're working on that has government funding. And just this past December, we came up with a new reactor concept that we want to put in a separate company and spin off and develop. And we're very excited about the new reactor concept because we see it as a pathway to a reactor that a utility could cheaply, economically, and safely use to generate power. Whereas the other effort is very important for doing science. It has some potential for utility scale power, but right now it's important because it helps everyone understand the science of plasma physics better.
Thank you.
Last comment, and then I'll run. Is I put up in the notes, leaders in energy and Boston Green Test. Take a look at both of those first. You and I will get together offline. Nice seeing you.
Thank you, Chris. We need
Sure.
to move on. We've gone a little bit over. The next presenter is Land Intelligence and Gore Bolton.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me back. I appreciate seeing you all and seeing you right before the COVID shutdown. So I'm live from Columbia, South Carolina. So I missed being able to travel up to see you all. For those of you that don't remember, I'm originally from the Northern Virginia area. So Fairfax County and Alexandria specifically was home for the majority of my life. Land Intelligence is the rating agency for property and for land. We're a software development company focused on the real estate investment and purchasing process for tracts of land that are used for places where we live, work, and play. So housing, subdivisions, new projects, shopping centers, repurposing malls. Obviously, a lot of conversation around office space recently. So kind of what we what I kind of went through my 1 million cups. I think Fairfax was the third or fourth 1 million cups presentation that I did. And so over the last 7 months, or 7 months starting in December, so I stopped in June, I did 15 1 million cups presentations. And so I did an average of 2 a month, and it was great feedback. My ask over that course of that time was to get focus group participants for our customer focus groups and our user feedback as far as developing our software and our SaaS program. Out of that, we also got referred to folks that were interested in being sales and referral partners with us, and also some affiliate partnerships. So those were some good outcomes from 1 million cups. We also got a lot of advice and ideas as COVID impact started to come in. And actually, we saw an acceleration as a result of COVID. One of the jokes that I've used with everybody is when we talk to 60-year-olds, they don't think real estate development is done this way through a computer. And when we would talk to 30-year-olds, they would wonder why the software didn't already exist. So that's kind of our double messaging we have. And now the 60-year-olds are logging into our system because they couldn't travel. So it was kind of a captured audience. So that was kind of a neat thing to watch happen. And the focus groups and referrals I got through the 1 Million Cups community really helped us have meetings about which features in our roadmap to accelerate and which ones to defer. And so that was incredibly helpful. And so kind of the overall go-to-market, we were in development mode anyway, and we were finishing our funding round when COVID started. So we completed our first outside round of investment. We actually had our commitment right before I spoke to you all in January. A couple of the closings drug into COVID, but we got that done, and we actually ended up oversubscribing, and we had some people invest in the middle of COVID, put in some extra money. So that was nice. We also luckily had started payroll. You know, one of the things a lot of startups do that I've learned from doing multiple startups is, they defer doing payroll, right? They hire everybody as independent contractors. They do all that. And thank God we didn't do that because we turned on payroll and benefits, we were eligible for the PPP, and a lot of startups were not. So we were very fortunate in that aspect, and we were able to make it through that program. So our SaaS, so since then, we were getting feedback to launch our beta version and getting signups. We had our beta version is now in trial, so our SaaS product is released, and we have folks in trial use right now, helping us break it. And then we also accelerated our mastermind. So we started a weekly mastermind with our focus group attendees because obviously they were all distracted as a result of COVID. And so we were able to pull them in and start getting insights from them. One of the things we had in our roadmap in the real estate development process was raw land for residential use, commercial use, or industrial. And we were kind of going to go in that order: residential, commercial, and industrial. And as a result of the feedback in our mastermind and the market feedback, we deferred commercial and we accelerated industrial. And that was a direct result of the people that came into our focus groups throughout the entire 1 Million Cups community. And then we turned on sales. We turned on our enterprise sales about 6 weeks ago. And in 6 weeks, we've sold just under, we'll close the end of this month at about $1 million in enterprise sales. So sales traction is looking good. The sales agents, relationships and referral agents has been tremendous. So we get people all over the United States that sign up to be either part-time or commission sales agents. So that's been a really good outcome out of the 1 Million Cups community, people that do that kind of fractionally and are interested in what we're doing. And then We're in the middle right now of a small angel round. We basically, because everybody's getting a COVID discount, we had planned on doing another round of financing in Q4. So what I've done is I've broken that up so that we can offer a COVID discount to investors now, but we won't take a discount on a larger number. So currently we currently have a small round that's open for folks prior to our next full round of priced financing. So that's where we are as an update. I was on a guest spot with the South Carolina Research Authority, which is a venture fund that invested in us. And they were asking about tips and tricks for entrepreneurs. I shared our experience with 1Million Cups, that it was invaluable to our launch, and just really thank the community for the support.
What's your big ask question right now?
Big ask right now is we're still looking for people who want to be trial users. Number one, we're still signing people up on the SaaS platform. And then number two is we are looking for a small COVID seed round to break up our funding round we were going to do anyway. So those are the two things we're working on right now.
Quick reminder for everyone, if you do have a question, please raise your hand in the chat or write your question out in the chat.
So I'll jump in. Gore, thank you. So on the folks who are selling for you, is that on a commission-only basis?
So we have a couple different models. So we have commission plus base plus commission models. Yep. So we have both.
And on the commission only, what percentage of a sale does a salesperson?
Sure. So we have a structured formula based on our product line. And so depending on whether it's, software or subscription, it is recurring and it is lifetime of customer. So it's not a one-time commission.
It's great.
We want you to sell and renew, right? There's no sense in selling if they don't renew.
Totally.
Tony.
Okay, Gore, great job. Let me, quick question for you. I remember that the site was up and you had a login for the beta testers and stuff like that. And it's great, the update with the investment and the wider use, which is fantastic. Have you started marketing at all, or partnering up with some of these online real estate companies where you could be a tag in? Because I remember one of the discussions that you had brought up, or when we were presenting, was that you're kind of like the Fairfax to the real estate industry, where you can sit there and provide information about the neighborhoods, the house, the infrastructure and stuff like that. Have you moved forward with anything like that, or tried to get, do you have an investor that's providing that to you?
Yeah, so we basically have national data coverage now. We have every parcel of property in our data set that's available for our users. And then we focused on on average, we have about around 50 data layers per county in the country that we collect on top of the ownership and tax assessment information. So we basically have been able to work out several data partnership agreements with some folks that already had some data that was interesting to us. So that was pretty interesting to get done. Our core business is for the land developer, the person who signs the contract to write the contract. We do not work with brokers and we do not work with agents. We are absolutely competitors with them.
Okay.
So I was soft about that 6 months ago. I'm really clear about that now. Like everybody tries to introduce us to brokers and it's a no bueno because they don't pay for anything because they all work on commission. Gotcha. So that's half of all of our types of deals never make it to a brokerage house. And so that's our market. Our market is the people who don't want to use a broker.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm. No offense to any brokers in the room.
What have you learned the most in between the time that you presented and now?
I think no matter how many times you can be a serial entrepreneur, which I consider myself, you can never know everything when you start something. So, I mean, it's just the learning is a nirvana in and of itself. And if you don't like that, entrepreneurship's not for you, right? So I think it's just the constant, I'm constantly reminded what I don't know. And, you know, yesterday's success is old news, right?
Okay. All right, Cor, thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
You gave us so much information in your update. No one has any questions. That was great. All right. All right, then. So, Melinda, where are we at?
Next slide, please. Next week, we have Drakewise Productions, and they will be here to, they are a cinematic videos that capture and engage audience across multiple platforms. So bring your questions. Next slide, please. Our presenter schedule. Right now, we've got, as I said, next week we've got Drakewise. After that, we've got Honeydew. And then on September 30th, if anybody would like to apply for September 30th, we do have 3 folks in the application review right now, but we are looking for a September 30th meeting, and we're also looking to fill October. Next slide, please. Upcoming events. Does anyone have any events they want to share with everybody? Got to be a lot of things going on right now.
Rosemary had her hand up.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Really quickly, today is Wednesday. I host my Wednesday weekly webinars. We've been making some product updates and improvements. If you'd like to join, I put the registration link into the chat, but I'll repost it. If you can't make today, that's great. We do it every Wednesday at noon Eastern. Everyone's welcome. So I hope to see many of you there. Thanks.
Anybody else? I know Central Fairfax has a bunch of stuff, but I don't have the list on me.
There's a new, well, not a new, but there's actually a Maryland business networking group. It's similar, you know, it's lead chair, one seat per profession, that type of thing, up in Maryland. There's also a Tyson's chapter. But it's mostly Maryland based. Anybody that's interested, I'll do a posting here, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Thanks, Manny.
I want to personally thank all of our presenters today. Thank you for coming back and sharing your story. This was amazing to get that type of feedback. And I'm glad that our feedback helped in, you know, somewhat in your success. I know it wasn't 100% of your success. It was your blood, sweat, and tears. But it's always good to have a team of individuals that have your back and are here to support you. If you want that type of feedback for your business and you're looking at growing your business, please, I would ask you to become a presenter at 1 Million Cups. We have a lot of new people that showed up today that haven't presented before. The way that you can do that is you can go to the number 1millioncups.com/Fairfax. and apply to present. We will make sure that you look as good as all of the presenters that came on today, and we will definitely take care of you. I also want to thank the organizers. We have an awesome team of organizers and 2 new organizers, which we introduced last week, Melinda and Renetta. Melinda did a fascinating and great job today. She just jumped right in and made things happen. So you did great, Melinda. Good job. And Renetta, she's going to be put in the fire within the next couple of weeks to support in the success of our entrepreneurs. So again, thank you for taking time. Thank you for supporting each other, and thank you for coming out. This has been a great event. We're happy to have you. If you want to hang on for a little bit and kind of network, you got a minute or so.
And don't forget to save the chat.
Yeah, add your contact info to the chat for sure.
And save your chat.
Add it.
Otherwise, when you try to find it afterwards, you're like, where'd it go?
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you, Ann.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thanks.